Hello everybody, this is Carpo again. This will be probably part 2. I just made a video that ran out of battery in the middle. Happens sometimes. It's a beautiful, beautiful day today, and I just don't know how to embrace this warmth. It's just so awesome. But I was reading out of this book, and I found another little quote about nonviolence that I wanted to see what people think about this. It says, spiritual necessity for nonviolence. There are several reasons why following the spiritual path need to cultivate nonviolence. One reason revolves around the law of karma. This law states that for every action, there is a reaction. As we sow, we must also reap. Whatever we do is credited or debited by our karmic account. If we cause injury to any living creature, we must pay for that deed in kind. Most people live in ignorance of this law. They harm others without being aware of the consequences. Although there are courts of law by which certain crimes are tried, many crimes seemingly go unpunished. We may think we've escaped punishment, but sooner or later we must pay for our deeds, whether it's in this life or the next. The karmic law is inexorable. Those following the spiritual path refrain from any violent acts. If we want to reduce our karmic debt so that we can return to God, we must develop nonviolence. Another reason for developing nonviolence is based on the fact that violence to others, the other forms of life, is interfering with God's creation. How can we expect God to grant us entry to the spiritual regions if we mistreat His children? We may consider the lower forms of life insignificant. We may think insects are repulsive and reptiles useless. But for some reason known to Him, God created each life form. To Him, we are all His children. What is more, the outer form is but a shell or casing for the soul within. And that soul is part of God. If we can feel so much love for our children, how much more love must God feel for those who have created the entire universe? Imagine His pain to see His most intelligent life forms, His most noble creatures, human beings, injuring His less endowed children. We, who are the highest in all creation, should be the most spiritual and noble of His creatures. It is incumbent on us to live up to the highest ideals for which He created us, and protect and help the lower life forms. It is for this reason that those on the spiritual path advocate a vegetarian diet. God has granted humanity enough growing plants as food. We need not kill animals, birds, or fish for our sustenance. If we wish to reunite our souls with God, we must keep ourselves pure. We must develop love for all creation. We cannot say we love God if we do not love His children. We should try to extend to humanity and all creation the same feelings of love that we have for our near and dear ones. We should realize that within each beating heart is a soul, and that soul is no different from ours. All souls are part of God. All souls are connected by a deep bond. The soul in us is the same soul that is in all other forms of life. All other forms of life. We should see that no injury is done to any soul, for when its part is damaged, the entire system is affected. So, the reason why I wanted to talk about that for a minute is because I watched a video last week from Gabe that was one just like I'd done last year. It was about to what degree do we respect life forms. And when we speak about vegetarian diets, I find it to be shallow and short-sighted for the world as a whole to assume that mankind can eat nothing but plants. In one sense is a noble idea, but it's unreasonable. The reason why certain cultures have banned eating certain foods, such as pig in Islam, swine is considered a filthy creature. The truth behind that is that during the times when people began ranching and raising animals, pigs have no other use other than meat. A cow can be milked, chickens have eggs, goats have milk as well, sheep have wool, but the pig has nothing. And not only that, but the pig eats the closest diet to humans. So we end up wasting more food to raise a pig. So by saying swine is filthy, and putting that into the religious context, it's a way to keep people from raising animals that are going to cause harm within the community. But there are places where they have no other choice but to eat animals. You know, people who live in Alaska, you know, some of the tribes that live in very frigid areas, they're forced to hunt animals. You know, that's part of their life. So can we say that, you know, Native Alaskans are non-spiritual because they're consuming animals? I don't think so. I think we have to use a certain degree of intelligence, a certain degree of reason. But when a person becomes a vegan, you know, that's a good path for a lot of people, but I don't necessarily think it's any better or worse than consuming certain animals. And furthermore, if you break it down to insects, you know, is it okay to eat insects? You know, there are many cultures that eat them, and they have hearts, they have blood. But really what I wanted to tackle was the idea that plants are a consciousness themselves. They are an entity. They have maybe not a heart as we understand it, but aren't they pumping lifeblood throughout themselves? Aren't they reacting to the environment and having some sort of a direction? We cannot say whether or not plants feel the way we do. Obviously, it's different, but there is no magic diet that doesn't harm life. And what we have to do is learn to accept that all life is a cycle. Everything eats something. Plants eat other plants. Animals eat plants. Then the plants eat the animals. And many times animals eat animals. This is an issue that is really an individual subjective view of mine, that I don't have any intention of becoming a vegan, but I try to minimize the amount of meat I consume, especially the ones that are harmful to the environment, such as raising mass amounts of chickens, tiny cages, areas where the cattle are just destroying the environment and the waterways. I don't eat much cow. But I do enjoy fish, and I do eat chicken and turkey. That's just each one of us has to find what level of preservation we have for life itself. Because if I really thought that we shouldn't eat any living creature, I'd die. Because plants are a living creature to me. I apologize to the plants when I pull them up from my garden and when I harvest them. I say thank you for providing me with this delicious meal. And I bond with my food, you know, especially the food I grow in my own garden. And but I consider it alive. So many of these old paths, old belief systems need to really be thought through as to the implications. But eat what you will. Just use your mind, right?